Hi everyone, it's Jamie Trull here, your favorite CPA and financial literacy coach. And today we're going to be talking about 1099s. Now, this is specifically going to be for those of you who own a business and are sending out 1099s, but it can also be applicable to those of you who own a business and receive 1099s. So we're going to talk about when you need to send them, what they are for, and some of the lesser known rules around 1099s. And also, we're going to talk about the fact that you can get around having to send 1099s depending on how you actually paid your contractors. So we're going to talk all about that. We're also going to talk at the end a little bit about some misinformation when it comes to 1099s and specifically 1099Ks that you're going to receive from payment processors. So there were some changes that were recently made in the American Rescue Plan Act, and there's been a whole host of misinformation around what exactly that means to you. So we're going to talk about that towards the end. So real quick, let's start at the ground level and just talk about why we have to issue 1099s to begin with. Now, remember, if you have an employee in your business, you are going to be issuing them a W-2 at the end of the year. That W-2 gives your employee all the information about how much you paid them, how much you withheld in taxes, and they're going to use that when they complete their own tax return. Similarly, a 1099 is for non-employees. These are for contractors. Typically, that are going to be people that did services for you. There are some other reasons you might have to send out a 1099 that we're going to get to, but oftentimes we're talking about service-based contractors. So you would be sending them a 1099. They would then be using that when they go to file their taxes, and also the IRS would get a copy of that so that they can quickly make sure and check to see that the contractor is claiming all of the income per their 1099s. So that's really the key of it. It's a reporting thing. It is one mechanism to really make it easier for the IRS to make sure that they are getting all of the tax revenue that they believe they're entitled to. So let's jump into a decision tree that I made, because I think that's the easiest way to really illustrate exactly what we're talking about when we are talking about 1099s and who needs to get them, because there are a few rules that may get you out of having to send a 1099. Okay, let's look at that. Okay, so here we are looking at a 1099 decision tree. And what you can see at the top of this is we need to start with what you pay the vendor for. So like I said, oftentimes we're going to be in the middle, which is for services. That's now on a 1099 NEC, a 1099 NEC, which is non-employee compensation. That used to be on a 1099 misc. Don't use that anymore. That changed in 2020. So you're going to want to use a 1099 NEC for those service-based contractors. The other reasons that you might need to issue a 1099 are for business rent. If you have been paying a landlord, that's something that's often missed, but it is technically required, that you would use a 1099 misc for. And for royalties, there are some additional reasons. I will link you to the actual 1099 form from the IRS and the instructions, which gives you other reasons you may have to send a 1099 and who they would be to. But these are some of the most common people you would be 1099ing. Now, the first question on all of these you can see is what you paid over $600 per year. Now, this is added everything up that you paid to that contractor, let's say, or landlord. Is it over $600 a year? If it is, you will see, you will go to yes. If it is no, you do not have to issue a 1099. Okay, so that's an important threshold to keep in your mind for when you need to send a 1099. Okay, but just because it's over 600 does not mean you need to send them a 1099. The next question is, how did you pay it? And this is, I won't call it a loophole, but this is the reason that a lot of people may not have to send 1099s, and sometimes we oversend 1099s when we don't need to. So if it was paid by cash, debit, ACH, right, check, any kind of transfer through your bank account directly, then that typically is going to be more likely that you would have to issue a 1099. However, as is getting more popular, if they paid by credit card, right? Business PayPal, business Venmo, any other payment processor like Stripe, anything like that processes specifically business payments. Now, if it was personal payments, that is a different story. But if it was running through a platform for business payments, specifically for goods and services, then those companies are the ones that are required to send the 1099. Okay, so you do not have to. And in fact, if you send a 1099 to a contractor that you paid via one of these methods, they may end up getting essentially double counted 1099s, which we don't want to do. You will not be responsible to issue the 1099. Instead, they will get a 1099K from that contractor. Now, remember this 1099K concept that comes from these payment processors, because that's going to come in a little bit later when we talk about some of the changes that were just enacted through the American Rescue Plan Act. So let's go down the assumption, though, that we paid directly through our bank account, cash, debit, ACH, check, anything like that. Then you are going to look and see, are they incorporated? Are they a corporation? If they are, meaning are they an S Corp or a C Corp? If they are, and you would know this based on their W-9 that you should have received from them, you want to be collecting your W-9s early because that will give you the information that you would need to be able to issue a 1099. But if they are incorporated, you do not need to issue them a 1099. Yay! Unless, and you can see over to the side of here, we talk about attorneys, unless they are an attorney. Attorneys, whether they are incorporated or not, we are required to send those 1099s to attorneys. For whatever reason, it seems like the IRS does not trust attorneys and they want them to get 1099s no matter whether they're incorporated or not. But typically, you will not have to send a 1099 out if the business that you are working with is incorporated. So typically you're going to end up sending these 1099s to sole proprietors, to freelancers, if you paid them via direct bank account transfer or anything like that. But a lot of people are going to get out of having to do this because of the different ways that we process payments in this 21st century world. Hopefully you found that decision tree helpful. Hopefully that helped to walk you through how you need to think about who you might need to send 1099s to and give you a little bit more clarity about who you need to send them to. Now let's talk a little bit more about that concept of a 1099K, because that is one of the things that has changed recently and is enacted starting January 1st. Transactions that have happened after January 1st, 2022 will be under the new rules. That means that this year end, there will be no changes to who you're going to get a 1099 from, okay? But next year, you will see a change in how 1099Ks are issued. Now remember, 1099Ks are the 1099s that come from payment processors. So you would get one from your business PayPal account or Square or any kind of payment processor that you are using to take payments in your business, right? Typically, previous to these new changes, you would only get a 1099K from that payment processor if you had over $20,000 worth of payments through that payment processor, not necessarily from one person, but in total, in aggregate, through that payment processor, and 200 transactions. So ultimately what that meant was you needed to send a 1099 to a contractor if you paid them via check for over $600, let's say. But if you paid them via one of these payment processors, they're only going to get a 1099 if their total transactions through that payment processor equate to over $20,000 and 200 transactions. So you can see there's a little bit of a gap there, right? And what that meant was it's a 1099 gap. So some people would just not get 1099s for the income that they earned. Overall, that doesn't matter. You need to claim your income whether you get a 1099 for it or not. That's super key, right? We don't just claim our income for tax purposes based on our 1099s. We claim them based on the income and expenses that we are tracking within our accounting system. That is super key here. But now with the new rules, payment processors that process over $600 in payments to someone need to send a 1099K to them. So it's changed from 20,200 transactions to $600, similar to the 1099 threshold that we as business owners use. This is not a massive change, and remember, they're only going to send this for true goods and services. Okay, so it's only if you are using these payment processors for goods and services. If you are using your personal Venmo or something to collect money for something you sold on the internet that was old toys or clothes that you had in your house, don't worry, it's not going to somehow make that subject to tax. So it's not changing anything that is subject to tax. it's still taxable. The same things that were taxable yesterday are still taxable today, but it is closing the gap of what the IRS believes is a lot of unreported income. So income people should have been reporting, but because they didn't get a 1099 for it, they didn't report it at all. So that's really the purpose of these changes. So ignore all the misinformation and all the, crazy hullabaloo that sometimes happens in the media and online. The truth of the matter is it's not changing what is taxable, it's just changing the threshold by which these payment processors will be required to send a 1099 to people that use them. So no biggie, if you're following the rules, this shouldn't impact you at all. Remember, that goes into effect with transactions that are processed from January 1st, 2022 on. So if you were watching this video in early 2021, this isn't something that you have to worry about for this January 31st 1099 deadline. And I do want to reiterate, January 31st is the deadline for issuing your 1099s. Okay, you need to issue them and you need to file them also with the IRS. So make sure that you're paying attention to those deadlines. Even if you miss that deadline though, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't file them. It's better to file them late than not file them at all. Now, if you're watching this video, it probably means that you are in the throes of getting all the things ready for tax time and trying to make sure you meet all of the deadlines, and also that you're getting all the deductions that you are entitled to as a business owner. And maybe you feel like things are a little bit a mess. If that is you, I want to tell you about something that I just created just for somebody like you. I have just put together an ultimate Getting Ready for Taxes bundle, and you need to grab it. It is brand new. Currently, it is on sale for a super duper low price. The price changes, so I'm not going to mention it here, but we have some special YouTube pricing. If you go to jamietrull.com/tax time, you can check it out. And let me just tell you, it has all the things that you need in order to make sure that you can get your taxes together quickly and efficiently, because we do not want to spend a million years doing this, and that you're going to get all the tax deductions that you are entitled to and be able to maximize them. Okay, so go check that out. You're going to get your ultimate tax prep checklist with that. It's going to have your checklist for all the things that you need in order to get your taxes together super quickly. And we've also got a tax deduction guide to maximizing your deductions, which who doesn't want to do that? And there are some bonus lessons within there that are really easy to digest and get through, additional information on things like 1099s and other deadlines that you want to make sure that you don't miss. So make sure that you are checking out everything that's in there. We also have lots of plug and play templates in there, including a mileage tracker. Even if you forgot to track your mileage throughout the year, we're going to help you get your mileage deduction, your home office deduction maximizer. There are a couple different ways that you can calculate it. We're going to tell you the best one for you, and your P&L template. So even if you don't have a P&L or you need to get something together super quickly, you can do that with our P&L template as well. So you will have a profit and loss even if you don't have an accounting software. So if you want to jump into that, again, go to jamietrull.com/tax time for our specific YouTube special pricing and jump on it soon, because pricing will not last. I hope to see you next time, and happy tax time.